All right, welcome to Worldwide Slot Car Chat on Zoom. Let's talk slot cars. Anybody got show and tell?
Yep.
All right, go ahead, George.
All right. I just posted a video on the page or the channel. It's Racetrack Scenics. I went to visit Kevin Sharp, who owns who runs the website, and got video on his laser cutter. So I asked him a lot of questions, kind of like 5 or 6 questions. That's a lot on, his product. And I got some stuff here that I'd like to share. And for example, like this is the Silverstone Bridge. I'm not sure if that's what that is. And this is basically balsa wood or MDF, I think is what it is. He explains it on the video. And this is all laser cut. And then what happens is when you get this stuff, you get it. Oh, this is one of these car stands, by the way. And I just painted this real quick, super fast just to make it look nice.
But sorry, does it have a slot for the guide blade as well?
Yes, it
does. Oh,
does.
that's so cool.
So I just did a little decoration. It's like that real quick. And then I painted this. I just threw paint on it real fast today in the high humidity weather. So, and then threw some acrylic over the decals. And then I used lacquer to go over the decals as well, because it won't wrinkle them up if you have acrylic over them. They come like this in a sheet. This is how he laser cuts them. It's a puzzle. All you do is pop these things out, and they have the spots where you could break them off, and you just clean these little nubs of little sandpaper, and you basically put this together. That's all this is. It's really simple. It's really fast, and he's got a lot of stuff on his website, like signs and towers from historical tracks, like Riverside sign, that big one, Silverstone. He's got that MG1 safe and fast. And in the video, he explains that a lot of people, which I understand, are afraid to trace something out and paint it. Well, this stuff comes in separate letters, and it actually insets in the emblem and everything. So all you do is just paint the little pieces. It's just like a puzzle, and you snap it together, and it looks really good. The prices are really reasonable because there's not much tooling involved. What he does, he uses a CAD program. He has how would you say, a partner that helps him out with this. He was a structural engineer, and he lives in South Africa, believe it or not. So he got with him and asked to make some plans, because he bought some from him one time, like from on the computer what they make, and he's been partnering with him with this stuff. So it's pretty cool. I mean, here's the one like a grandstand. This is painted already. You could it comes in a sheet, and you put it together, and again, it's not hard. It's just a puzzle, and you paint it up any way you want. Like I said, examples of these stands that I have here for the cars, and kind of cool. Cool stuff that he has. Check it out. It's pretty neat stuff. He's got a lot of things. Some towers he have that are big too. He's got a lot of Riverside stuff. He's got also the European, the F1 stuff as well. So but I really enjoyed talking with him, and he's also talking about in the future, which is soon, is actually making a track that you actually assemble, whereas you have the tape already ready for the braid and it's painted already. And he explains he just wants it to be easier for the customer to put things together, and the way it's shipped, it's not shipped in like you would like a traditional like commercial track. You would need very large pieces. This is something that's manageable to ship, and that the person gets it. And it's in the video that I have posted probably an hour ago. And I went there.
George, that's like a sectional wood track then.
Yes, it is, out of MDF. Watch the video. I suggest you watch it when you have time, because it's 15 minutes. That's the longest video I've done, but I really kind of asked him a lot of things, and he's explained a lot of things. So it's good information. The website has a lot of stuff on there, and he's a busy guy. I know Dave Kennedy was the one that brought him up. And it happened to be that he lived only about 30 miles from where I'm at, because he lives in Moxville, North Carolina. That's about 30 minutes from here. So I was able to go to his place. He's going to open a shop and stuff sooner or later in August. So, and he's going to display more stuff and more track layouts from what I understand. So, but that's the future of what he's got in mind. So that's it.
Sounds like cars by IKEA.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. It is, because I just put this together in 5 minutes.
Yeah, but if you got it from IKEA, 2 pieces would be missing.
Yeah. There you go. Painted it
Yeah,
real quick,
and you'd have a handful of parts you don't know where they went.
All right,
Yeah,
with
You
the
can
IKEA
sleep
jokes.
on it.
All right, with the IKEA jokes.
Yeah.
So if George, if you want to put the link to your video in the chat, I'll make sure to put that into the description, and I'll try to link to their website as well. It's very similar to something. It's very similar to what Magnetic Racing has been doing for several years now. Great. They have a lot of great products as well that are, laser cut, put them together like puzzles and paint them however you want type stuff. So it's good to have that. I think Magnetic Racing, I think they're both stateside, but you can get basically they have a different set of products, obviously. So
Kevin's pretty passionate when he does, in the video he says, I really don't care about the money, which I think he doesn't. But he said he has told me, and I see it in his voice and his eyes, that he's really wants to make sure that the person who buys the product is happy with it, because he's the type of person, that if you're not happy with it, why, I'm not gonna charge you for it. But I mean, not to want to take advantage of the guy, but he does really want to make sure that it's, the person gets the part, the piece, they put it together and they're happy with it.
Quick
No,
question about the wood track. Would it be like almost like a commercial track, but you put it together in your home, or?
Yeah, I don't know about having banks yet. I know it's flat, and the one that's in the video is a basic oval. And I put two of my scratch built cars, and he had to just, power to it, and they ran around. They're really fine. The cars handled well. They had urethane tires on them that would have on my scratch builds. He's the one that he has is a prototype. There's a couple things he needs to do to it still, but I mean, the slots are already cut. The tape is already there. It's already painted. Yeah, it's all painted already. So you just lay your braid, put your power supply, put the pieces together, and your track is, you don't have to worry about painting it or, doing others. He also does custom stuff as well. So if you ask him for a custom piece, like for example, the Area 51 Raceway, I asked him to do this, and then he did this for me. And he even painted it. I asked him, can you paint it? So, I mean, he'll do custom stuff for you and custom orders, a little bit more, not that much, but he's willing to do it because he's got the capability. And that laser cutter, you guys, is pretty big. It's not a tiny little, box one, because he explained about how that takes several hours. And if you bump it or if the power goes out, the thing goes weird. This one he has is really sophisticated, and it cuts everything pretty quick. When about, at least the ones that he did here, he did these for me, like 4 of these. He did them like in about 10 minutes. Because he just cut everything up right there real quick.
What is the name of his website again?
Scenics, racetrackscenics.com. I'll put a link in there for you.
Okay.
Also.
Wow, that's like Bond level laser cutting.
Yeah.
It's a big machine.
Pretty much. I saw when he was, I have it on video when he's doing it, and you see a white light, and that's actually, he told me that's not the laser, that's the material burning. The little white little light, it's the material burning, the wood. And the type of board that he uses is furniture quality one, because he explains that also. Now you could go to Home Depot or something like that, but the problem he says with that, not every other piece is the same. So when you're doing like mass production like he does, you want every piece to be identical, so the product is consistently the way it should be. You don't want to get something that's off a little and then it isn't right. But
His website looks cool.
yeah, he's, like I said, he's got a lot of stuff. It's reasonable. It's made in the USA. Can't really say that too much. So I really am pretty much impressed with his stuff. And again, he really wants to take care of the customers. So I highly recommend it if you want to try something out.
Well, and he's plugged into the hobby too. I mean, he really, he's available, accessible. It's really nice.
Oh, this is, I'll tell you, this is the best hobby to lose money in, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm at the top.
I skimmed through your video earlier this morning, pretty much right after you posted it, and there's a lot of great stuff in there. So absolutely worth watching that video. So definitely put a link there for me so I remember to put that in the description. And you can see his big old laser machine. It's a nice big machine. Yeah, it's a great video to watch. So definitely go watch that. I think we're probably ready to move on to our next show and teller. And I don't remember who popped their hand up first, but Tony is the first on my screen. So go ahead, Mr. Petrucci. What do you got to show and tell today?
It's not show and tell. I've got a question.
Okay.
I notice a lot of you deal with Slot Car Corner.
Yep.
Well, Slot Car Corner Canada made a program called International Assistant, where you could put all your car details on it, and if you make alterations, this program.
It's like a stock manager program, so you know what your cars are.
Yeah, but they don't do it anymore. But the copy I had, I've lost my computer crashed, and I've lost it.
So you're wondering if somebody
I even got used a copy.
Slot Car Corner hasn't been around for 3 or 4 years anyway now.
Yeah, I know. I've had this a long time.
Oh, okay.
The program I had on my computer, crap, I did make a copy on a flash drive, but it don't seem to be working. Or it's telling me.
It was a floppy.
No, on a flash drive.
It's so old it was on a floppy disk. So you're wondering if anybody out there has that program that you can download from them.
Yes, please.
To use it again.
Yes.
Hopefully you get some help with that. That's a shot in the dark, but you never know.
No, so I see people there with a Slot Car Corner hat on, and
miracles happen.
They do. I appreciate if they can help.
All right. Hopefully someone can help.
Are you telling me that you didn't buy nothing?
Yeah, you didn't buy any new cars?
No, I've ordered some, but they haven't arrived yet.
There you go. See, you blame it on the postal service. Yep.
Okay.
I've ordered. I ordered Safeways, the Ford Cortina, not the red one. I got the blue one. I missed the red one, and I got the BMW and something else.
All right. Well, we look forward to your show and tell when those come in. Thanks, Tony. Next up is Don. Go ahead, Mr. Young.
Well, as I have expressed in the past about going to the junkyard for stuff, one of the pieces I picked up was this car.
Nice. Mercedes.
Yeah, it's the Sauber Mercedes C9. And it was advertised, body with the bare chassis with the front wheels. And it had the wing missing, which, that's usually expected. So I got the car and was inspecting it to decide what parts I needed to be able to reassemble it. And I was trying to put the chassis on it when I suddenly discovered that the chassis that was attached to it belongs to a Jaguar XJ9. So not a big problem, kind of a welcome one. So now I have the correct chassis for it. And since I had this wonderful chassis,
Picked up a Jaguar.
I have the correct body to go on it.
There you go.
So that's my current project.
It never ends, does it?
Oh, no, that's the fun of it. Instead of having one car, now I got two.
Yeah, 2 cars for the price of 5. Perfect.
Yes, That's all I got.
All right.
Just in time for the electric dreams race.
There you go. Get that set up and come on over. Look forward to seeing those get their paint and chassis and whatnot. So thank you, Don. And next up is Paul. Go ahead.
Right. This is the SRC. I don't know if you can see that. It's the new body I played with. Well,
Nice.
got with Sonico.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right.
So that is, I've just sealed that today. All the decals are sealed on there. I've used a load of my dad's old, as you can see, I don't know, auto weld under the Sonico. So that is it. That is my new baby waiting to go. I've got to finish putting it all back together now.
Who was the manufacturer?
Sorry,
Who is the manufacturer?
That was SRC.
SRC.
Oh, SSC. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Wonderful cars.
You're gonna paint over all that blue and yellow stuff, aren't you?
Oh.
You're gonna make it red.
Red.
Well, I've got one I've done already. It's in white, black, red. It's the proper livery for it. But that's going to be a race car.
Well,
So it's my shelf queen.
looks like you did a great job from here. All right, thanks, Paul. And next up is Alan. Go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. A couple weeks ago, I went ahead and posted a couple very poor pictures of a 1966 Corvair that I was doing, setting up and doing in 3D printing. And as I moved along, I discovered that a lot of the dimensions were off. So basically it went into the trash can and I've started all over. So here's just a couple shots right now of how far I have gotten. Is that showing
Nice.
up?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what part of the car was off, Alan? Because it looked really good when you showed it to us.
The dimensions were off, John. I mean, and a lot of little things like the headlights as an example. Okay, let me see if I can swing this around. The dimension or the width of this particular piece right here was about half that size. So a lot of the features were considerably smaller. And my starting point on these is I went ahead and built a 3D scanner. And what I do is I pull in, I'll go ahead and scan, whether it be a die cast or a AMT or whatever, body, scan it in, scale it, and then do my modifications from there. And that particular piece that I scanned in was way, way off on a lot of detail dimensions. So what you're looking at right here is I've done a lot of modifications to this, but the baseline for it was a 1/25 AMT plastic kit that I scanned in. And I'll tilt this over a little bit. You can even see that it picks up the inside. Okay,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's the inside of the rear tail lights and so forth. That's all done with the scanning. And then from there, this is where the craziness comes. And some of you probably have seen this, some of you have not. But that's the basis for it. All those little lines, all those little triangles is actually what makes up this shell. And I can go in and I can modify these. I can pull up each individual triangle and shape it the way I want it, or add or delete. So that's basically.
Alan, sorry to interrupt. You even got the lower fender badge there.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So Alan, what will you do? Will you print that? Is that what this will lead to?
Eventually what I'll do is this will be turned into an STL file. Now, some of the things that I have learned is that I could print this out on an FDM printer, what I call a string printer. And although it will print, I'm not real keen on the surface level. It's not as smooth as I would like. And therefore, you got to do a lot of sanding and filling to come up with something that I think is acceptable. The other option is to go ahead and do it in a rosin. Well, with the rosin printers, the surface is very, very smooth. The detail is fantastic. However, I'm really not thrilled with the durability of these rosin castings for slot cars. That's just personal feeling. So what I do is I will print this out in rosin, and that will become my master, where I'll make a 2-part silicon mold. And then from there, just go ahead and pour, standard shells. Another advantage to that is if you print a body out in rosin, something like that in 1/32 scale is going to take about 6 to 8 hours. Whereas if I use the rosin as a master, get a 2-part mold, which John and some of you guys are familiar with, I can go ahead and cast a body and pop it out in less than 10 minutes. So to me, it's a lot of plus.
Well, you're using 3D printing really for what it's intended for, which is really prototyping.
Exactly. Yeah, that's basically what I'm using it for.
How do you scan it with what do you use for it for the scan?
Say again.
What do you use for to scan it? How do you
make it
scan?
1/32.
Oh, the scale, I can do it basically.
No,
what
the
I'll
scan.
do-
No, the scanner. Well, how did you scan it? You said you built a scanner.
Yeah. Yeah,
You-
I don't know if I can try and bring it over here and put it in front of the camera.
Is
Or
this something-
should I wait, Greg?
I mean, did you design it yourself, or did you find plans online, or?
It's a combination of plans that I found online in conjunction with some of the code I wrote. I'm one of these guys that I have to tinker. So I modify a little bit of it.
One of the popular scanning, low cost scanning cameras is the Xbox camera, because it has, various, sensors and stuff. Is that what you used, or did you use something more traditional?
No, I tried the Xbox, and although it worked, it was very cumbersome, difficult to use. So through a little bit of research, I found, and I'm very pleased with this, by the way, it's a gentleman by the name of, his first name goes by Thomas, and I believe he's over in Italy, and he has a device that he's come up, and it's open source, and it's called Open Scan. And you can go on the website, and he's got 2 versions. There's like a mini and a classic. I went ahead and built the classic. You can get a lot of the 3D printed parts to put this together through him for a price, or the files are available and you can print it by yourself. And it's based on an Arduino and a 16 megapixel camera.
So it's photogrammetry, basically.
It's photogrammic, yes.
So I'm curious how much work. Right now we're looking at a wireframe that you've edited. How much work did it take to get to this point, and do you still have a copy of the raw scan?
I don't have a copy of the raw scan, but I can tell you I can do it over again, but it's labor intensive.
Yeah.
Okay. It's it's not like taking a slot car out of the box, putting it on, and it runs. It's labor intensive. You've got to clean up the raw scan. And then once you get it into, I'm using Blender in this particular case, there's a lot of cleaning up that has to be done. And then, of course, if you want to modify it to suit what you want, I've probably right now got maybe about 80 hours into this whole thing.
Yeah, that's
from the
what
time I scanned it.
Whenever somebody says, "Oh, I scanned it," or "There's a scanner," or "Can you scan it?" I want people to understand what you actually get out of a scanner and how much work it takes to get to what we're looking at right now. And I think 80 hours is a pretty good, way to emphasize that this is not what you get from a scanner, what we're looking at.
That's why I asked, because the only scanner I knew for consumers don't work.
I mean, yeah, they work, right? But you get a point cloud, which is then turned into a skin, but the point cloud has random points all over the place that you have to go in and fix, or it's got surface.
What Alan's done here is digital sculpting, right? I mean, just like I would sculpt something.
Absolutely.
Yeah. In fact, Blender is a digital sculpting app, and that's what he's using is Blender here.
I will say this much, that the scanners today, in relationship to just 2 years ago, are far superior. And it has to do with the availability of some of the cameras that have come out, in conjunction with, they've put a hell of a lot of time into the software.
And about the resin prints, Alan, I don't use it. I didn't use it, but if I see the reactions, there are a lot of people, they mix the resins. So the resin get more flexible to build a slot car.
Yeah, you can play the games of mixing some stuff together. I've got one brand, and it's Tenacious.
Yes,
and
correct.
Basically, what that does is I add that into my base resin. That gives a little bit of flexibility, but not as much as you would hope.
Okay, thank you.
And I've proved that by simply hitting the wall. And the difference between a standard rosin and adding some Tenacious is that with the standard rosin, I hit the wall, it shatters.
Yeah, correct.
Whereas with the Tenacious, it just splits.
Ah,
it's still destroyed no matter what.
Okay.
So that's why I've taken this other course.
Yeah, thank you for your information.
Yep.
That's it from this side.
So I was going to say, you're absolutely right, Alan. Cast resin bodies will certainly be more robust than that.
That's why I opted to go that direction, John. The durability in conjunction with the time frame of getting a body. I can cast a body in 5 to 10 minutes, whereas with the resin, I'm looking, depending on the size, 8 to 10 hours for a single body, and then it's not as durable. So I'm using this basically as a prototype or developing my masters.
That's very, very, very cool.
Yeah, wonderful work.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Alan before we move on?
You're the master.
All right. Thanks for sharing, Alan. And what do you got today, Dewan?
Oh, let's see. I had a little downtime past couple months, and during my downtime, I kind of was scouring some of the eBay auctions and things like that. So I kind of acquired a few things. And just to share with some of the things that I've picked.
Come on, monogram track.
You were waiting for that one, John.
I was. Awesome.
Yeah, so now I picked up a monogram track, and it came with cars and everything. I didn't take pictures of all the inside stuff, but hold on, let me see. Why is it not rotating now? Oh, there it goes. And then that's a Le Mans set. These are 2 Le Mans sets.
That's the set that I did a video on. That's awesome.
Yes,
that's a great set.
Yes. So they're both Le Mans sets in different eras. And then I got a Riverside set.
Whoa, did the Riverside set have the cars?
They had, all of them had cars, controllers. Every single thing was complete for almost every set.
You got the Elva. Holy cow!
I do have 2 Elvas because I have. In addition to that Riverside set, I got. Hold on. Where's it at? Why is it not rotating? Oh, in addition to that set, there. I got another one. So I got 2 Riverside sets, and I got a Sebring set. Well, I don't know what the second Riverside. Well, the second. So I have 2 Elvas out of that.
So are you building a monogram layout as well as a Revell layout?
That's what it looks like I'm going to be doing. I think. I plan. Yeah, I already have an idea of what the monogram layout's going to be, and I'm going to use I'm going to clean it up just like I did the Revell. So I'm planning on having 2 analog vintage layouts, and then hopefully have enough space to do a digital. And I'm hoping to have some comparisons. People can go from one old style of analog racing, and then easily drift over to the digital side and do some digital racing and see the differences.
Because monogram track is so nice.
It is really nice. I actually haven't set one up yet. I have about 10 sets, but I haven't even set one. I haven't put one layout of monogram out there, but I have at least 10 sets.
Are you going to paint this
to a
one?
museum.
Are you going to paint this one?
Am I going to paint it?
Yeah, you painted your last track. Are you going to paint this?
No, I'm not going to paint. I don't paint any of my tracks. I clean them. And make.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yes, I clean them.
Now you have enough track to do that background behind you. That's how much monogram track you have, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, I have enough Revell track to do all that several times over. And now I can actually do the same thing with the monogram, because the monogram didn't have half curves or half straights. So I'd have to fabricate those. But what I'm probably going to do that. Revell had a demo 4-lane track that they not was a demo, but it was a publicity PR 4-lane track layout that was really kind of awesome looking at. I'm going to do that probably in the monogram. So that'll be the 2 layouts I probably have, and then I'll do a digital track one if I can spare the room and come up with a place to put the digital track as well.
Well,
Well,
once you dust your magic on that monogram track, it's going to look fabulous.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does. It really looks rock solid. I like it. I like the color. I like the scheme. I like the texture. Everything about it is good.
Yeah, the surface is magnificent. It's really cool.
Yes. yes. Okay.
Anything
That's
else?
all I have. No, that's all I have for today. I have a lot more things, but I'll share them in the next coming weeks.
All right.
Right. Have you got any pictures of the cars?
I could have. I just did these like 5 minutes before we started, so I just did the sets. But I have the cars and everything. So
Well, good for you, Dewan. Tease us till next week. I mean, that way we get people to watch next week.
There you go.
Right.
Stay tuned. Same chat time, same chat channel. Anybody else?
Wow,
got
quite apart from anything else, that just to have enough space to do that must be something
Yeah, he's a fortunate man.
wonderful.
Any additional questions or kudos for Dewan? All right, let's move on. Henry, what do you got to show and tell today?
Yeah, you want some other scaling in your program? So I think it's HO.
No, that'll be 143rd.
143rd.
I got an email on Slot Forum from a Mr. Cameron. I don't know him. And he has a website, and he said, do you want to print this one? Because he saw the video about the stiletto. I don't have any kind of this scale, because I just printed it. I don't know if it will fit either.
Probably gonna have to make your own chassis for it.
He has also, maybe I can share it. Try to, the screen, the website is under my, over here. Share?
No, share. Choose your web browser. Share again.
No?
It's coming. There we go. So we're looking at the Zoom page.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Yeah.
This one.
Go ahead. There we go.
Lightoutindustries.com, and you can push on the download STL file. It didn't work with my Google Chrome, but it worked with my telephone. I don't know why, but and there is a chassis and wheels, etc., etc. So if somebody's interested in drive this sort of cars, I hope it will fit.
That's cool. Alan, do you know anything about these? Have you seen these before? Huh. Well, I guess you guys have something to talk about on the 143rd chat then, huh?
Yeah, we'll do some research. That's for sure.
Nice. Good
Yeah.
find, Henry.
Thank you.
He sent me an email. I don't know the guy. So that's the nice things of being on chats, on slot forums. There are people who react on something, and voila.
Yeah. Et voila. Exactly. Very cool. All right.
Okay.
Looking forward to more information on that. Anything else, Henry?
No, that's it.
Good stuff. Thanks.
Actually, I put my hand up because I have something for Henri while he's center
it.
stage.
Yep.
That he may be because of course he's. Oh, I can't share screen. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead now.
Oh, thank you. And just to show you that, can you guys see this?
Yep. Tune your cars on the bench.
Yeah,
There
the
you go.
dyno.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's still not as nice as yours, though, man.
No, I like this one.
Isn't that
I
cool?
like the real meters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really analog, eh?
Yeah,
Like check that out. And then of course there's a Cox chassis on there.
Is that a
But look at all the different things you could do. I mean, I forgot that this was, I guess fairly useful.
They weren't stupid in the old days.
You're just old.
So what exactly would you do with that?
I guess if you don't have a track at home, you just race your cars against each other like this.
That's about it.
This one's faster, so it wins.
It wins. But I thought of you, Henri, when I ran across this, and I had to share it with you, sir.
Yeah,
What
thank
year
you.
was this?
It looks like that's a handle at the front. Like
It is, yeah, right
carry
here.
it.
You can carry it around and show your friends.
Yeah, it's amperage and volts, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, they have one on eBay, $339.
That
You're kidding, really?
That would be fun to
Yeah.
have just like as a collector's item.
Same thing, UL 69. It's non-working parts if you want parts.
Yeah, parts or repair. Yeah.
I just want to know what K and F stand for. I just don't want to even speculate.
Come on, one of you guys got to know what KF stands for. Apparently not.
No.
All right.
Anyway, thanks.
That was a
Thank
fun
you
share.
for repeat on air anyway.
Killer. Never mind.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, John. And thanks, Henry. And Jim is up next. What's up, Jim?
Let me find my, oh, there it is.
Oh, yeah. Tell us what you're doing.
We have, this is not an ad for the U.S. Nationals, but I thought I'd throw this in because it pertains to that. So a bunch of us are going to be attending this race in about 3 or 4 weeks. And I just got my handout motors the other day. So the handout motors are sealed and you can do nothing to them other than break them in. And you know, there's various rules. The pinions were a little bit shy on the end, so we had to move those out a little bit to match the crown gears. Excuse me. But the break-in process is the thing that we're working on.
Moving the pinions out's only because you guys want to use 5-tooth crown gears.
Well, we're using the 6. We're going to do that anyway.
Like I do. Then
so yeah, we did have to move the pinions out, but I'm not. This is not about break-in because we could talk about that forever. But it is about how you can see what the break-in does. And I got this little device, and it looks like a pen, and I think it's called an otoscope. And you can now see into the motor. So you take this little pen and turn it on. And there's a light there, obviously, so you can get inside the motor. The slotted motors with the white end bells, you can actually kind of get a visual scope in there, but ones with the brown end bells or with the shrink tubing on, it's very difficult to get light in. So this solves that problem. And when you put this device, which is made for earwax cleaning, and I would never in my wildest dreams put this in my ear on my own to do that. But it works great when you put it in a motor. And it's a Wi-Fi device. So it sends the signal back to your tablet or your phone. And when you put the probe in there, that's what you see. And now I can see this is a brand new motor. This is one of the handout motors. And you can see exactly what the condition of the brushes are.
You know, Jim, you're only supposed to do that with motors that are over 50 years old. You know that.
Well, these are fairly new because this is one of the handout motors. And so that's the procedure. And then when you look in there, you can see exactly how well or how not well, bad wording, that the brushes have seated. This is a brand new motor. Wow. So you can see it's just writing on the edges. And like I said, I'm not going to go into discussion on how and when and why and where and to break in, but now at least I can see what my break-in procedure is doing and compare it to older motors. I forgot to put the picture up, but the motor that I ran at the 3-hour enduro back in December and probably now has 10 hours on it is almost completely flat across the face of the commutator.
They're 90 degrees off.
Oh, so when you're breaking it in, you're trying to flatten those contacts?
Well, that's a whole nother discussion because do you want to or not? Because sometimes if you're just writing on the edges, you get more content. You know, it's a whole nother discussion. But at least here I can see what is done. I can see what a fast motor in an older car looks like and try to duplicate that or whatever the process is. But this device it enables me to see what I'm doing.
Jim, what's it called again?
It's called, well, oddly enough, I looked up to find these because, you know, some of the stuff you find on Amazon or whatever, you never find them locally. These are available in your local Walmart store.
Wow.
Jim,
Oh my
Jim,
God.
did you notice in that picture that the brushes themselves, we'll call it the carbon brushes, they're 90 degrees off.
Right.
No, they're not. That's the way they're designed in this specific motor. That's the way they come from the factory. There, again, there's a whole nother discussion on that. but that's the way these motors come.
Boy, you're not going to get much current draw, but anyway.
But again, that's another discussion. How much current draw do you need? It may not necessarily be flat against the commutator is the fastest. But
does that count as tampering now, Jim, since you stuck that in there?
I guess so. I looked inside. You could technically see this with your eyes if your eyes were that good, but mine obviously aren't. And
Here's a dumb question.
Dennis is writing all this down, you know.
I'm pretty sure.
Well, here's a dumb question. Can you actually do it while the motor's running to see how it's operating?
You could, yeah. The video quality is not very good because the refresh rate on this little camera and this little thing for $30 the size of a pen is not very good. So you wouldn't see much in a video. You could see it running, but you really wouldn't see any detail. It's more of a still picture.
Did you check the RPM?
I haven't yet done this particular one. I'm just in the process of starting to break these motors in and decide how to break them in. So I did one water dipped for 1 minute at 5 volts and did virtually nothing to the brushes. So like I said, I don't want to get into that because that we could take 2 or 10 hours talking about that.
And this is an MX15?
Yeah, no, these are MX16s, aren't they? Dennis?
16. Okay.
This is the same motor that comes in a stock slotted Group C car.
I never thought I'd ever see the day for slot car proctology.
That's what
You
this is.
can
You can
do
stick
your
this.
own colonoscopy with
Don,
that.
you can stick this device anywhere.
All right.
You wear the sun don't shine because it's got a light in it. But again, this is in the slot car section at Walmart.
I was gonna say it's not gonna be in a slot car section at
I hope
Walmart.
that's in there.
B-Bird is the brand. So if you're interested in one of these, you want to go to Walmart and buy one, you can buy them on the internet, whatever. $34. They had it in stock at my local Walmart, so I bought it because it's cool. Besides being actually an effective tool, surprisingly, to see what the break-in process is doing. Easy to get, local Walmart. So
I actually have one of those, but they're more for the automotive section,
Well, this is in the slot car section at Walmart, along with the next to the nail polish.
With a big scope.
So probably the pharmacy because it's meant for ear.
Yeah, and if I shouldn't say if anybody's stupid enough, but that's kind of the way I feel. If you're stupid enough to put this cell phone up in front of you and stick this thing in your ear, I'm not sure this thing should really be sold to minors or.
Well, all I can say is kudos for you for actually buying something like that in person.
I told them it was for my slot cars, and they looked at me,
Yeah, sure. Yeah, what is that code for? Oh, wait, you live in California? Mm-hmm. Yes, right, sure. Problem.
So anyway, cool device, and quite honestly, very practical.
But Jim, check the RPM in front because I know at the moment from slotted there are between if it's 21,500 motor, it could be also a 70,000.
That doesn't make any difference. These are 3 handout motors. I have to run one of these 3 motors in the race. So the RPM is irrelevant. I have what I have.
Yeah, so you actually, you got more than one motor then, eh?
You're allowed to buy 3. They're serial numbered. So it's surprising because I'm used to the handout motors we used to do in RC racing, and you got those the day of the race. These they're sending out in advance, so you can break them in any way you want. I'm going to run one this weekend at our race in Modesto. So just to get a feel for it. And so, he sent these motors out 3 weeks in advance so you can play with them. They seem to be tamper proof. And there's a whole instruction sheet on the motor that comes from Electric Dreams, what you can and can't do. You cannot zap the magnets. How he can tell, I don't know, but it says don't do it.
Okay, now what you're doing isn't tampering, you're just investigating.
No, and it says you can break them in. You can move the pinion in and out to match your gears. So there's a lot of things he tells you can do, and there's some things he tells you can't do. So break in on these motors is entirely up to what you want to do. If you want to put it underwater for 10 hours and destroy the brushes, you're certainly welcome to, but then you'd only have 2 motors left to race with.
So why do you think they did that? They handed them out like early instead of at the track.
I guess it was just that so people could break them in as they please and test them. They're the same motors you get in the car, so they're not going to be drastically, if any, different than the standard motor you have in your box. But that was Marco's decision. So,
gotcha.
I've noticed Dennis is keeping quiet about your investigations.
I mean, I think that's a clever.
I don't really have much to add right now. I mean, Jim's doing a great job there. So
yeah, it's a pretty good diagnostic tool if you wanted to really see, you know, a regular car that you have here. Hey, what's going on?
I've been
Stick that thing
talking
in
to some
there.
other people about handout motors, about cobalt dust and things like that that you can buy, and that but just might stick to the magnets. And there's a lot of things you could do to basically cheat.
I guess the major reason for letting those motors go out early, quite apart from all the things that Jim has said, is that there are going to be a lot of people there and trying to hand out motors on the day of the race and give everybody enough chance to get them in their cars. It's just going to be impossible. And there are already nearly 60 entries to that event.
And you saw the wiring harness on it. It's the same wiring harness you get on the newer slotted cars.
Correct.
And
Mhm.
you have to run that.
Yeah.
So you can't direct
You just
solder
plug it
motor.
in. Yeah.
Well, it looks like a useful, low-cost tool to do a really thorough inspection of your.
Yeah, that's a nice little thing because of the way that it
my wife by
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I got one from JK that I don't think they make anymore, but it's a visual one, like, you know, the doctor would put in your ear.
Yeah.
But it was you could get in there and see it, but it was pretty difficult to see the brushes. This one, you just poke it in there. You do have to have a device. It's not an optical thing. You have to have a tablet or a phone to see it. But then you just take a picture of it. And so I've got my 3 motors serial numbered, and I've got pictures of now from day one. I've got the picture after 1 minute of break in, and so I'm just going to go through it and just see how they progress.
Yeah.
And my idea is to run all 3 motors, pick out just as is, pick out the fastest one.
Yep.
Then take the slowest one and start futzing with it, for lack of better terms. See if I can make it the faster one, and if that works, then I'll do the same thing with the faster motor.
Yep.
And that will make it a slower motor.
That's possible too, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of black art involved in a lot of these things, but yeah, that's pretty much what I'm going to do as well.
Throw holy water on it.
Jim, are you building for other people, or are you just building for yourself for this race?
So far, just for myself.
Okay.
Well, myself and Mr. Jocham.
Lucky you.
We're kind of conspiring on this, and a couple of the guys coming. So we're kind of putting our heads together on what to do.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah.
This is John. I want to ask a question off topic. Behind you is that little car. And the last time you talked, you said you guys were going to maybe do IROC racing with that. Has that happened? Have they adopted those cars?
Yeah, 4 or 5 people have bought them. What we're doing this Saturday at the Motown race is we're doing it's called the NSR Fiat Abarth Challenge, and it's 2 cars on the middle lanes, head to head, 2 people on track at a time, 3 laps.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a drag race style elimination.
Right.
So it's going to be a 3-lap crash and burn. Winner moves on, loser doesn't. And so it'll be 16 people. And so it'll be, it's a drag race ladder style, but 3-lap shootout with these cars, and we supply the cars.
Oh, that's fun.
It's an IROC type thing, but it's only 2 cars, so you're only on 2 lanes.
No sandbagging, John.
Never.
A question. I heard the forbidden word, and I was curious about it a few weeks ago also. I heard the word zapping.
Oh, zapping.
Zapping?
Magnets.
What's the holy grail of zapping? It's something to do by the magnets.
Well, yeah,
What will it do
they
at
make
the end?
they make what's called a magnet zapper that will re-energize your magnets, so mainly ceramic. I don't know much about cobalt, but you can't zap a magnet more than it originally had. But you can, if the magnet is old, theoretically you can bring it back closer to what it was originally. And so I don't know that there's any point in zapping these magnets, because they're probably as good as they ever were because they're brand new.
Not only that, but the problem is that you have an armature in the way.
Right.
Yeah, you can't take the armature out.
The only way to effectively zap it or recharge a set of magnets is if you can get the armature out the way and fill the air gap with the metal, with a soft iron slug, and then put it in the remagnetizer. Because right now you've got an armature in there, and that just means that there's a bloody great air gap both sides between the 2 magnets, and so you're never going to get to maximum capacity, regardless of how good your your magnetizer maybe.
Right.
Yeah, we have the one that I use, we use it for our HO cars. So we can take the magnets out of the car. And then, like I said, there's a slug that goes between them. So there's no space. And then you zap them and half the lights in your house go out because the zapper takes a tremendous amount of energy.
Yep.
And theoretically, it will bring the magnets as good as they can be. But zappers don't make magnets better than they ever were.
Right.
And at the end, they give me more RPMs.
No, the opposite.
The stronger the magnet, the less RPM.
So you get more. So you get more torque and more brake.
Get more torque, yeah.
It
More
depends
torque, more
entirely.
brakes,
It depends
more
entirely on the
acceleration.
motor. If you've got a, we had, this goes back to my RC days. We zapped some motors in RC cars and we reverse zapped them by mistake. And then we zapped them back to normal. The car turned, that motor turned 10,000 RPMs more than it did before.
Oh, so you basically degaussed it then, right?
Yes. But when we put that motor in the car, it hardly ran because what we did, we made the magnet so strong, there wasn't enough current going through the armature to spin it.
Spin it.
So you can over zap things. So it's all balanced, just like anything else. It's all a balancing act. It's making the motor efficient given what the ohmage of the armature is. It all plays together. So you can have too strong a magnet. You can have too weak a magnet. It's finding the right magnet.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to see motors that have too strong a magnet, go look at those Piranha 25K ball bearing motors. There's one that's already got too strong a magnet, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing we used to do, obviously, as important as the Gauss readings was magnet matching. So you want to make sure both magnets have approximately the same level of magnetism when you put them in the can. And again, everybody, you know, zapping the magnet has to work, the motor has to work as a unit. So the magnets have to match the strength of the armature, which is based on the thickness of the wire and the number of turns. So you beef up the magnets and everything, think that's great. Invariably, it slows the motor down because the magnets are trying to grab onto the armature as it's spinning around.
Yep.
But it does give you more torque.
Yep.
So we saw this in HO in we raced the HO freight cars that Greg's raced. We were racing a specific magnet because it was the best magnet to have.
Yep.
And then a new batch came out.
Yeah.
When we put the new batch of magnets in the car and started working with them and like Chris said, matching them and getting a good set of the new magnets, that dyno that you saw, we have those and we use them for a specific purpose. We put the new magnet car on the dyno, the theoretical RPM or whatever you want to call it, the reading you get off that dyno went down 20%. So in theory, that car is 20% slower.
Yep.
On the track, it was 20% faster.
Right.
So that's why I heard Chris comment in the back kind of, but those dynos are absolutely useless for tuning a car to make it faster.
Right. I mean, invariably, there's been a few proxies around, and guys have put the car on the dyno just to see what it does, and they leave it on there for 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Well, what tracks are you running on that you're wide open for 15 seconds? You know, so slowly it wound itself up to a certain RPM, but a free spinning motor will not tell you anything. You got to put it in the car. You absolutely have to put it in the car to find out what's going on. And early on in the early 60s, basically most motors had too weak a magnet versus the strength of the arms. So in the mid 60s, there was new magnets coming out. There was Arco 33s and 88s.
Magnum 44s.
Everything was coming out.
Blue dots and white dots. And
blue dots.
Yep.
I remember blue dots.
And then over and above the magnets, there was various manufacturers making shims, which was basically just a bent piece of steel that went around the outside of the magnets. So when you put the whole thing, it basically reduced the air gap between the face of the magnet and the armature.
Which was a lot better than what everybody else tried by putting some masking tape behind it.
Right.
As soon as you just put guys used to put masking tape behind the magnet, and basically all that does is move the air gap from one side of the magnet to the other side.
Right, right. And then, you know, on some of the old open frame motors, if you take little neo dot magnets and align the polarity and put the neo dot magnets on the outside of the motor case, that can minorly increase the magnetism. But again,
Oh, not minorly. It makes a big difference on some of them.
But again, you've got to be careful that you don't bind up the motor with you know, too much magnet on the bloody thing. It's a real, there's a lot of guys who have invested a lot of time and a lot of research and a lot of education on motors, motor magnets, and stuff like that. Probably the best guy by far in the world ever is a guy who's still around. His name's Stuart Cofer.
Yep.
It's the motor, isn't it?
Another thing that happens over time with a motor running is that the center of the magnetic field should be in the center of the C shape of the can magnet, but it tends to move away from that center position, and the opposite one, the opposite direction, which is a similar effect to rotating the magnets in the can, which has a similar effect to affecting the commutator timing. It's almost like it turns the timing a little. So a magnet zapper will also bring the magnetic center back to the center of the C shape of the motor magnets. And we would do them with the RC car motors primarily to recenter the magnets, because they experience that problem within 15 minutes of racing, sometimes only 3 races. So we use magnet zappers, but I've never used one on a stock car motor.
That was done with RC racing in the 90s and or so, with some of these spec. Tamiya, the company, did a racing series with their cars, and these were cheap little terrible motors. And there were people that were using zappers to actually alter that magnetic field and actually advance the timing in theory. Well, not in technically, but they were advancing it by moving the magnetic field. And those motors were unbeatable. Once they figured out how to do it, they were 20% faster down the straightaway and turned faster lap times than anybody else.
Yeah, we've had
magnet zappers that can do that.
Yeah, we've had sealed motors with armatures still inside magnet zappers, with the armatures cranked in different locations at different times to try and do exactly that. We have managed to find improvements, but it's a strange science.
So now you know all about magnet zapping.
One of the biggest failings in all the little toy motors that we use, the toothbrush motors and everything that we currently use, none of them really have the armature centered in the magnets, which is where it should be. So if you grab most motors, hold on to the can, there should be an equal amount of play left and or right as the armature moves along. Invariably, that's not the case, and the arm is rubbing up against one or the other of the bushings inside. So one of the things that the new manufacturer Cahosa is doing is they are center spacing their magnets into the middle of the magnetic field, which is certainly a bonus.
All right, I think we can move on to another topic. Alan has his hand up. What you want to share?
I have just a form of a question here. This morning, I went ahead and posted to the slot forum regarding some screws. And I'll go ahead and post there we are. And I was basically trying to find out what these screws are called. And of course, as helpful as the people were on slot forum, I went down 6 different rabbit holes coming up with the names of these screws. What I'm looking for is, I don't want to go to NSR or some of the hobby shops, because you end up paying about $1 a piece for these things. I'm looking for a quantity of about 100 on a project that I'm doing. So does anybody know what the official name of these are and where a possible source is?
Alan, I'll tell you straight up that you're dreaming if you think you're going to get these from kind of a tool shop or something. These are called collared screws. NSR make them like this, and these are turned down threads. Slotted do the same thing, but they use a roller thread to make the thread bigger. Both of these companies make these screws for their hobby, for their wholesalers and retailers. And I don't think you're going to be able to find these from some kind of DIY shop. A lot of people have asked this in the past, and I've looked through a lot of retailers. I've not found anything like this. These are made by NSR.
I know where you can get them on AliExpress. They aren't just flat.
I see them on NSR. I see them on Slotted. I see them on numerous slot car manufacturers. And I've seen various sources of screws just like this, except for the section that is void of thread.
Yeah, so Wayne apparently thinks he knows how to get a whole bunch. Wayne, are you able to share a link with us at some point?
Yeah, I'll try and find the page. It's called
I mean, in the States, I'd try McMaster Car.
That's if they've got anything like that. I'll try.
So you're looking for an M2.2. Well, you probably get an 2.2 smooth shank or something like that. Yeah. I just searched AliExpress for collet screws, and that wasn't very helpful.
Yeah, well, that Alan, as far as your help is concerned, that term, but that adds number 7 to the name that these things are called. All right, I'll continue the search.
Well, hopefully Wayne will have something for us.
Yeah, that'll be great. Thank you.
All right, and I do have a quick show and tell. Let me just go back to that page. I showed this earlier before the recording. Russell asked me to design and print these because he'd seen some other retailer including these as tchotchkes with their orders and stuff. So I'm like, oh, I could make a nicer one. So I designed a controller shaped key fob. And I've already actually done a couple of customizing versions. So one of the guys wanted a different color and with their name on it. So this is a new thing that Greg's 3D printing service can do for you.
Can you make the triggers longer?
I could, but it's pretty small. I mean, this is it right here. Right?
That's the wrong answer, Greg. So, the correct answer to him would be, if I do, will you buy them?
Yeah. If you want a longer trigger when you order one, just let me know and I'll design a longer trigger. But this is already probably the first thing that's going to break off in your pocket.
I was thinking back to when you were talking about we were talking about controllers and you wanted a longer controller.
Yeah, I like a 2-finger trigger. In fact, the trigger model that I based this trigger design on was a 2-finger trigger, but I knew that it wasn't going to print very well, so I went ahead and cut it off. So it was.
Hey, Greg.
Yes, sir.
You could take Jim's colonoscopy device for motors, embed it into that, and pull the trigger, and it'll turn it on.
Sure, maybe.
Self-contained, ready to go.
Thought I would go ahead and show that off. If anybody wants one, they can contact me. All right, thank you for the support, I guess. Jim put his hand up. Are you ready to do a club corner, Jim?
Mike's
he
off.
found some screws.
Mike's off.
I did.
Oh, is that you, Wayne? No, that's Jim. Okay.
His mic's off.
We can't hear you talking, Jim, because you're muted. I just asked you to unmute, so hopefully you see that. There you go.
I just searched partial thread screws, and it came up with this on AliExpress.
What thread are those?
They have 2, but they're 2 are out of stock. They have 3x12.
That'd be too big.
I don't know if that'll work for you, but that's
what
what
I'm looking for. The flathead straight slot. Unfortunately,
that's all I found. So
yeah.
There is stuff out there, whether you can find exactly what you're looking for.
What in particular did you need the flathead for?
A project.
I'm just curious why you need flathead
A
versus.
project that shall remain nameless.
Yes.
But it might involve a camera.
We might have to
No,
kill you
no.
to tell you.
All right. Well, another lead for you to follow, I guess. Hopefully, you can find what you're looking for, and hopefully.
Thank you, Jim.
So now looks like we're done with show and tell, unless anybody has a last minute thing they want to show or tell. So let's move on to Club Corner. Does anybody have any past, present, or future club activities they want to talk about or reminisce on or promote? Now is the time to raise your virtual hand or go like this at the camera so I can try to catch you. Jim raised his hand, so hopefully we hear some fun things that happened in Jim's neighborhood. What's up?
Well, now that I've become a race promoter, we are. Something came up. That's not me, is it?
Wayne is there. Or what do you got? So those are Starhead.
Titaniums.
Titanium through M2x4, M2.
I want tungsten.
Nice.
Titanium is nice and light, but yeah, tungsten will be weight. Now the question is, do they have 2.2? Because I think 2 would be.
You can put that in your broken bones or your hands.
2 would be.
They have 256 as well.
Split ones.
And 1.6.
Nice.
What's the link?
Can someone stop my share? I don't know how to do it.
I'll do it. Yeah, so go ahead and pop a link in there. Or somebody popped a link in there. Oh,
all right.
Looks like Kev found something. M2x10 cap head captive screws. Let me go ahead and share that. This is what Kev found. The nice thing about this one is that the shank is smaller than the threads.
Yeah.
So you have a choice. The other ones, the shank was the same size as the outer diameter of the threads. This one is the inside diameter of the threads. But it's also an Allen head.
Yeah. The search continues, but thank you.
An Allen head would be very apropos.
I mean, I prefer those than the straight slotted ones, but Allen has a specific need for that straight flat head screw head. So there.
Yeah, I'm limited on space. And that Allen head would kind of get in the way.
Yeah, those are thicker. Yeah.
D3 is 1.86, and D1 is 256. Isn't that 2.2?
I don't know.
You Yank should know 256. I don't. Sorry.
Those are 256, it says.
Yeah, and the 256 is a little bigger than an M2, but I don't know that it's as much as 2.2.
Right.
I would have to measure.
Yeah, the Allen, does it need to be the exact? Does it need to be M2.2, or can it be slightly bigger or slightly smaller? You're muted, by the way. Can't hear you, Alan. You're muted. There you go.
Sorry about that. 2.2 is the largest I could go.
So it would be okay if it were slightly less than 2.2?
Yes.
An M2 would be fine.
Yeah. So basically, in about 5 minutes of looking, there's all kinds of options. So clearly, there's a bunch of stuff out there.
And those heads look pretty thin. They weren't as thick as the socket heads. Well, those are not smooth shank though.
And that's an M5. That might be a little big.
Yeah, but those are a dime a dozen. We don't care about the ones that are threaded all the way.
Yeah.
All right, so you guys keep looking for that while we talk about other things. Go ahead, Jim.
Got another race at Motown this weekend. We hope to have about 20 to 22 people, some from Southern California, as well as the local people. But what I wanted to say is I've approached another track. And this is tentative, so I don't really want to say anything about it. It's not set in stone, but the point is, if you go to your local commercial raceway, I think you can get them and talk them into racing quote, our style of cars. They run well. They may take a little tuning if the track is spray glued, or if the owner is willing to clean the track. It's not a problem. So I think just about anybody that has a track in their area is a possibility to get something going, and with a much bigger track than you would run at home and more lanes and everything else. So yeah, it's definitely doable.
Absolutely worth a try. Contacting, if you've got a Raceway, absolutely give them a call and see.
Yeah. So, well, I guess I could admit we will probably start racing in Sacramento at Fast Tracks Raceway this year. So it's not set in stone yet, but I've had long conversation with the owner, and he's up for it. And so it looks like we'll probably be doing it.
Cool beans. More tracks is always nice. All right, thanks, Jim. And Dennis, what would you like to talk about?
Talking about commercial tracks, this weekend coming up, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, is at Piranha Speedway here in Whittier, Southern California. We're running the Retro Western States Championship. So Friday we have 2 races on their flat track for coupe cars and for Formula One cars. And then in the evening, there's an angle winder class on the King track. And then on Saturday, we run Can-Am, retro Can-Am cars on the King track. And Sunday, we run retro Formula Ones on the King track. So it's a big event, 4 days of it. It should be streamed. You'll probably find Piranha Speedway and Hobbies on Facebook, and that will be the place to go looking for the streaming. We should have people from all over California, plus a couple coming down from Washington, and maybe a couple more here and there. So the big mid-year event for retro racing in Southern California. Cool. And I've been busy working all week with that, painting bodies and grinding tires and doing all that kind of stuff. It's been a fun week, apart from starting to try and prep for the slotted nationals, which. Well,
so we might be able to tune in if they broadcast that live. We might be able to tune in and see you doing some racing.
Yeah, you might indeed. You might indeed. And I have lost weight. Despite what I looked like there, I looked worse. If you see me, I have looked worse in my life, but I'm still not where I want to be.
All right. Well, keep on keeping on.
I'll do that.
Look forward to see you racing. And I guess if there's no more Club Corner, then the floor is open. If anybody wants to ask the experts about anything, or
I have something. I actually have something from last week to follow up with Dewan, because he showed a really cool. I guess it was a K&B packaged Batmobile for quite an exorbitant price, and I just wanted to show him the original price that it went for.
Wow, that is exorbitant.
Look at that, eh? Originally it was $15.
That guy wants $3,450 for it.
Yeah, I understand there's inflation, but then there's also just no.
But back then, 14 or 15 bucks was what? $50, $60
times eight.
Yeah, times 8. Yeah, that was a lot of money. A lot of money.
$90.
Yep.
Speaking of that, I was looking at some Mini-Z stuff and ran across a Kyosho slot car, like several of them that were listed, and they're $500. Is someone drinking acid, or is that?
Kyosho released a line called D Slot, the 1/43rd scale slot cars by Kyosho, but it was very short lived, and they became collector's items.
Drive. Okay, I saw them. And, oh my god.
With a name like D-Slot, I think that's probably why.
I always thought that was the stupidest choice in name. But those guys are still drinking acid, but that's why they think they're going to get that kind of money for those.
It's almost as good as GM calling their EV an Impact.
Yeah, Impact. I'm wondering if Alan wants to talk a little bit about his Batman car projects. There's been a few posts here and there on Slot Forum. Did you want to tell anybody about progress on your various Batman vehicle projects?
Yeah, I'm not really ready to talk about the Batman stuff yet. I mean, we've got several things. I've got several things I'm working on. The 60s one I showed a couple of weeks ago. Very happy with that, with the HRS2 chassis. And I have the Keaton mobile I bought on a Shima kit on import, and it looks pretty good. I mean, it's going to be okay, but I'm nowhere near starting to share what I'm going to be doing with that yet. And I'm not at home, so I don't even have it in my hands to show you. So
I mean, what you
maybe,
just said.
maybe a month or two, Greg. I'm just nowhere near being able to talk about it.
No, I wasn't expecting show and tell. Basically, I was just kind of hoping you would tell us, about the model.
I showed the Keaton one a while ago, didn't I? The 132nd one that I had.
I think you did.
That's the one with the wings on the back, wasn't it?
Yeah, the
Yes.
Yeah. Can't remember who made
Yeah,
that.
but the Scalextric one, it's pretty poor, really.
No, mine's proper 132nd scale. Because everyone was going, "Oh, that's a Scalextric one." It wasn't.
Yeah, that was a while ago that you showed that one.
I'll dig it out.
Yeah, dig it out. Why not? Have a look on Slot Forum. There's a thread called Batmobiles ! And it's sort of taking it through, because the intention with this is I built one car and I'm going to try and build at least 3 or 4. I started with the 60s mobile, going to build the Keaton one based on the Ashima kit. Our next one is probably going to be the Tumbler, which will be an absolute nightmare to make a slot car out of. But hey, I like the challenge, so I'm up for that.
Yeah, I built the EMEA original one. This one I can't remember where I got this one from. But it come in a proper box. Well, the box was all falling apart. And I dropped it and the motor's gone up inside it. So it's a proper slot car.
All right, what's up, Russ?
Well, I think I brought this up before, and I thought I'd bring it up again. Has anyone discovered a new race program for home racing? And I'm really looking for something. The one I have works, but they're never user friendly, right? So I'm looking for something that I can use fidget boards, relays for stop and start, so I can run fuel. And, for people that jump the start. Has anybody got anything new?
I was going to say, did you, like Dewan was just saying, have you tried Race Coordinator yet?
No. Is that the one that's got the colors for the lanes?
Well, it's very customizable, and I actually was planning. I'm almost at the final stages of some customizations that I've been doing with the Race Coordinator. It allows you to have some of the features of many of the digital races. It gives you the fuel. It gives you crash and burn with lots of options on the crash and burn. It gives you the ability of having audio files for each driver if you so choose, and that's what I've been playing with. I'm probably 1 week away from completing it, but my goal was to have the ability to take a list of racers and just in a spreadsheet or just one at a time, put the name of a racer, and it automatically goes and creates the driver profile and creates special audio files for each driver and everything, so that while you're racing, it tells you who's the leader for that heat, who's the leader for the whole race, who's the, and it does it very eloquently so that it doesn't overwhelm you like some of the other ones where you're just constantly hearing noise in the background and getting annoyed by so much data that's being verbalized. And I use the text-to-speech engine to generate all the new audio files for each driver, so it's just done very seamlessly and very quickly. But it's and it allows you to use the Arduino unit to. And Jeremy he's not on the call, but he's done a lot with it. He's actually worked with me on giving me some the light, the LED directional. He has some that we put over your the overhead.
Arduino sketches.
Well, yeah, well, you can program Arduino to do a lot of things, but he has the gimbals that allows you to redirect the LED lights so that it's
Okay. The 3D printed things that he.
Yes. So it can optimize your bridge or your bridges to get the to read the
sensors.
It's very good, yeah. And the thing about it is it's completely it's free. The software is, and it's compatible with TrackMate. So if you have TrackMate software, you can completely just use the software and use their hardware and the race coordinator software on top of it. And it's very easy to operate and to manage. So I'd recommend just looking at it. And he's got a lot of tutorial videos on it too.
Okay, so you can, but it will stop and start you, and it has, you can run fueling.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Cool.
Yes, it's really cool. I was actually I hadn't videotaped it, but I had some guests here right now that we just did some demo races and they just got exposed to it, and I was going to videotape them doing the whole thing so you could hear all their interactions in the background and can hear the fueling, and it tells you, that Dewan is low on fuel, things like that. So that's
if you haven't already talked to Dan, definitely talk to Dan because he uses Race Coordinator. So do you remember racing at Dan's track down in Lacey?
Okay.
He uses Race Coordinator, and I don't know how similar your hardware is to his hardware, but like Dewan was saying, Race Coordinator supports a variety of hardware options, and the guy is still actively working on the software. So if you and supporting it, so if you have any problems at all, just email him or post on the forums, and he'll, other people will help you, or he'll address the problem. If there's a feature you want that other people want as well, he'll probably add that feature in if it doesn't already have it. And like it said, like Dewan said, it's free. He does encourage people to make donations to some of his preferred charities if you want to contribute to a charity on his behalf. But otherwise, download it and try it out. I put the link I put the website address in the chat, so it's just racecoordinator.net. And at least download it and try it out. Alan, you seem to have some input on that.
Yeah, I use it the drag race version of it on my drag strip. It's Arduino based, so you need to know how to set up an Arduino, and if you want to change any features to it, unless you have background in it, it can get a little intimidating. One of the things that I've done with mine is I have the ability that I've got sensors going down the track at the 60-foot, 330, 660, and 1,000 feet. I've got sensors in there which will give me the ET and the miles per hour, and at the same time, it triggers a little camera and takes a picture. And then I also have that at the finish line. So for drag racing, I can determine, especially at the end for a photo finish. But it's nothing, I'm not trying to scare you off, but it's nothing that you can plug together and go play with it. There is some tinkering.
Well, using the Arduino boards, aren't they very similar to the fidgets? And it's just, Arduino is another brand, but isn't it really in effect doing the same thing as the fidget?
I can't answer that. I don't know. I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, and you don't have to. Not only that, you don't have to use the Arduino boards, but the Arduino is a good compatibility with it, and it gives you the flexibility of programming it minutely as what level you want it, whatever level you want it to be at.
Okay.
For example, Jeremy has for all 4 of his lanes, he has a relay button that when you get off the track or deslide or whatever, that particular driver would hit his own button, and he's the one that suffers the penalty of or however you can put in program how you want the penalties to be. You can be assessed 1 count against his 2 or 3 counts for the crash and burns, or it could be he's assessed an extra couple of seconds in his or you can really fine tune how you want to penalize the driver for pushing that particular relay button for his particular lane. And by having relays on each lane, you know, it can stop when you run out of fuel. It stops you right there, dead track. Versus if you don't have the relays on each track, it just stops counting the laps for you. But you can still have power to the lane, but you just don't count any laps. Versus having a relay, it just stops you dead cold as soon as you run out of fuel.
And have you had any kind of issues with it in the middle of a race?
No, not at all. And it's recommended that before you do any tweaking to back up the database. And I did post some things on Slot Forum this week on trying to interface with the database to seamlessly add those drivers into the database and customize things. And so that's what I'm wrapping up. I'll be probably doing this tonight or tomorrow, and then I'll be posting. And I was hoping to give you guys some results of it next week.
Cool.
Yeah, sounds like it's worth a try at the very least.
Yeah, that's right.
See what happens.
I'll share. More than willing to share with you. I have the batch files already to create. I use a public domain text to speech engine, and I have a batch file that goes and creates all of the audio files for each driver, and it's done pretty seamlessly in the background. So.
Oh, cool. I appreciate that.
Yep.
All right, thanks for helping, Russ. And Paul's got his hand up. Go ahead, Paul.
There you go.
Oh, the Batmobile. Yeah, let me highlight you there.
Oh wow, 3D?
No.
Oh, that's a model. Okay, got it.
It's a slot car.
It's a slot car. As you can see, the motor's rattling around inside where I dropped it. I smashed all the breaker mounts inside.
I remember last time you were showing it, we were trying to figure out where
What
it
make
came
it
from.
is.
Yeah.
I don't know where I got it from.
Got it.
But it's got all the details on the wheels. I don't know if you can see all the back bag.
Well, yeah.
What scale is that?
So we're
It's
we're
1/32.
we're assuming you've never run it then.
No, I dropped it before I could run it.
Oh.
So,
Well, he's built a chassis for it.
But that's
Can you not take it apart, Paul?
yeah, it's got 2 screws in the bottom, but it's like it's on the bottom of the list of everything.
Yeah.
I'll get around to. I've just had to run up the garage to go and get it. It's in all the model kits box.
Did that look different than the things that you've found so far, Alan? Is that something that you want Paul to try to figure out where it came from?
Not really. I mean, that Keaton mobile, I've already decided the Ashima kit is the one. I mean, despite some scaling issues, it's quite wide. It's 74 mil wide, which is much wider than I really want, which might be a problem to make it work on scaly sport track, but it'll work on polygon track, it'll work on Ninko track. And my idea for this is to make it almost like a dragster. I'm not that worried about how it goes around the corners, but I want it to go down the straight like it's on fire. So, but everyone. But I mean, that one, apart from the fact that it's so long, so an HRS2 chassis might not be long enough. I'm going to struggle to find something to put under it. May have to chop shop the original chassis that comes with a model kit, but the model kit chassis, it's all 3D molded and engine detail. It's not going to make a great chassis for a slot car. But I'll overcome those. But when I start looking at the Tumbler, the Christian Bale Batmobile, that's nuts. The idea of trying to make a slot car out of that is mad. The whole thing is mad. So I've not even settled on a model to buy yet. And even if I settle on one, because of the date, they're now collectible. So I'm going to be taking a collectible mint in box thing that's in, I don't know, some other country, and then smashing it to pieces to make a slot car, which I will then smash around the track. So I don't really know how I'm going to go.
All right. Well, Paul's got a cool thing. All right, Dennis, what's up?
I wanted to ask John Underwood, because I saw him on the list, if he wanted to report on his Maserati 250F.
Oh, yeah,
He's run it yet.
I have run it, as you know, as I explained to you at the time, Dennis. I had a slight mishap with the one-to-one car on the way to the club the other Friday. I did run it at Rockingham. I probably did about 10 laps with it. It seems to run okay. It's crabbing a little bit. I've had a look at it, and it's just one of the sides is slightly higher at the front. So what I've done is I think I've heated it up enough with a soldering iron just to drop it a little bit. It seems to be a lot flatter on the plate anyway.
Okay.
So obviously I've got it in the box. I should be giving that another run on Friday to see if that stops it from sort of crabbing into some of the corners. So
yeah, you can always twist it. You can always twist those frames a little bit too.
I didn't really want to go down that route, but I may try it. But initially, from what I've seen, yeah, I think it should be fine.
Okay. Just wondered.
It seems. So my only, so I did about 10 laps, and I just thought, well, there's no point in carrying on. I'm not learning anything. So I took that off. I've got a Max chassis Beetle. It had a 45k motor in it, and it's got urethanes, little 7mm wide urethanes. You literally touch the trigger, it was straight into the barrier, because we run best part of 14 volts at Rockingham. So I put a little 20k in it, and it's I can actually get the throttle onto the stop now, which is quite pleasant. So
yeah,
we've got the Summer Classic coming up at Rockingham, so the Beetle for the saloons, and Nick was saying, it's got to be the split screen, so I just turned it right. Yeah, that's fine. So I've got the Beetle for the saloon class. And then we've got the 250F Maserati with your chassis under it for the Formula One classes. So yeah, it should be right. Hopefully get a couple of podiums.
Pleased to hear it. Thanks very much for the report.
Yeah, I will keep you updated though, Dennis.
Well, you were there, John. A while back we talked, and you said you had a ceramic build plate for brass chassis.
Yes.
I'm in the process of trying to build an Aeolus chassis production car for running at Finchley. So if you could remember, if you could dig it out and bring it to Rockingham, if you can find it, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I have found it, Alan. It's just a Lucky Bob's. You can get it from AB Slot. Lucky Bob's Racing Products. What does it say? Chassis jig for building chassis, etc. I say it's literally got a central groove. It's got 2 front pegs, 2 rear pegs. It looks to me for 1/24 scale, but I'll bring it along on next weekend. I'll have a look, and as I say, it's got the price on what whoever bought it paid for it, and I paid for it. So as I say, if it's any good to you, Alan, by all means you can borrow it, mate. No problems at all.
Thank you very much, John.
Alan, if you're trying to put a C43 together, then you have been watching the James Cleave videos, right?
So I didn't quite get that.
If you're building a C43, an Aeolus chassis,
yeah,
you have watched James Cleave's videos, right?
Cleave Tech.
Oh yes, I have.
Yeah.
I have.
There's no better way of setting up a JK chassis than what he gives you there.
That's true. I had no idea how much effort goes into preparing these metal chassis cars. I mean, it's a production car. You buy it out of the box.
The guys at club racing level, they talk about a club race flat or ISRA flat. Right. And if it's ISRA flat, that means that you can't get even 1/1000 feeler gauge under it anywhere. But it takes hours and hours of bending and pounding to get them that flat.
Yeah. Whole different thing from plastic chassis racing.
Yep. I bought myself a granite surface plate to do those things on.
And that's what James Cleave uses. He uses an engineered granite plate. And I looked at that and I thought, really, that's where I'm going to have to go to build these things. But to start with, John's got this thing that's a commercially available.
Yeah, that'll be a good start. I mean, You don't absolutely need to have a granite surface plate, but it does help.
Yep.
But they are fun. The taping is the important part. Knowing where to put the tape and why.
Yeah, well, James goes through that. So I've watched all of his videos twice, I think, and each time the first time I thought, why is he spending all this time? This could be done in 2 minutes. And then I went back and really looked at it and thought, yeah, okay, I'm beginning to understand the level of attention to detail that's going to be required.
The problem is there's so many pieces on that, like even just the center section of those frames, all the pressing around where the guide is and those little ears at the front or the little wings at the front, nothing's flat there. And then right behind that, you've got those two little pieces that bend up that take the front J-bar. And because of that, everything, it's like a tabletop in there. It's flat at one end and then it's up over the top and it's back down again and it's all over the place. So it takes a long time to get them really right.
Those uprights for the J-bars,
yeah,
and the one I've got, they're all over the place. They're nowhere near where they need to be. So
yeah,
that's going to take some work.
All right, Alan, looks like it's your turn.
Basically kind of rolling back to the show and tell quite earlier. You were asking for like a raw scan of the Corvair.
Yeah.
I couldn't find that. I believe I misplaced it someplace, but here is an example for everybody to see what a raw scan looks like as it comes out of the scanner. And you can see from here the amount of work that it takes to get into what that Corvair looked like.
You're gonna need to zoom in on that.
It looks like it was in a snowstorm.
Right.
There we go. Yeah, that's what you get from a scanner.
Beautiful.
And as you can see, it's a hell of a lot of work. But I mean, the good side to this, when you get down to it, is if everything falls into place, you now have something that's not available out there in the market.
That reminds me of the model kits they had in the 50s with a picture on the box, a block of wood and a knife, and said, remove every part that doesn't look like the picture.
That'll work.
Can you rotate that around a little bit? Oh, is that just like a screen capture?
That's just a screen
So
capture.
Alan, just to be clear, that's what you started with the Corvair and produced that wonderful model?
Yeah. About 80 hours. That doesn't, about 80 hours worth of work so far. That doesn't include the scanning.
How much Adderall does it take to do this?
Beer. Drinking a lot of beer.
And never mind. I mean, that's 80 hours of, you've already learned the basics of how to do that from doing it in the past.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
If you're jumping into this first off, you're looking at 160 hours because you got to learn how to do the things.
Oh, and then some, and probably at least 3 to 4 cases of beer.
Yeah. F this mess.
After 3 or 4 cases of beer, that'd look even better.
There you go. It's good enough. Print it.
Yeah.
There you go. Where do we put the guide flag on that?
Yeah, just chop the wheels off. It'll be fine.
There you go. I just wanted to show you guys that, it's again, it's not one of these things that you take it out of the box and shake it and plug it in and play with it.
No.
Yep, and that's what most of the scanner product companies lead you to believe, right? They show the after 80 hours thing, not the thing that comes right out of the scanner. And
I have to tell you, I watched Scale Extric's their documentary on creating the Lamborghini Countach, and they did a full LiDAR scan of a full-size Lamborghini, and that looked so cool and so easy with so little in the need for retrofitting the image. I thought, this is really good. I'm going to buy one of these or make one of these. And after what you've just shown me, I'm not doing it.
There's
True
There's
LiDAR
nothing
is
more
going to be a lot better.
frustrating. There's nothing more frustrating than turning to the internet for help. Believe me, there's a lot of experts out there, but invariably the opening statement you get from the expert is, well, all you have to do is. That's bullshit.
It's easy. But if they actually had a LiDAR device, then that device was tens of thousands of dollars. That's
Yeah, but it's no different than buying a box of cereal that says suggested serving.
you know,
For who?
It's not that better technology doesn't exist. It's that the better technology is crazy expensive and pretty much only, big business industrial level stuff.
Didn't they have a scanner at Gaydon, Alan?
I'm sorry?
Didn't they have a scanner at Gaydon, the slot car festival?
I didn't see one, no. But
thought
then
they were
again, I
scanning
mean,
you for-
what reason to?
I thought they were
what's
doing
the-
scans so you could get your miniature figure done.
Oh, okay. So scanning a person and scanning a car is two entirely different things.
Oh, it's two different things. Absolutely. Absolutely.
What Alan was showing of the car, when you do it to a person, it looks fine. It's fine because it's an organic thing. You're expecting to see imperfections, but when you're looking at a car, you're expecting to see smooth panels and perfectly round things and stuff like that.
And one of the first things that you're up against when you're scanning a little model car, as I've done here, whether it's a die cast or a plastic piece, if you put that, I have like a little turntable and that rotates through 360 degrees as I'm scanning. Well, if you just put that, what I call the raw piece on that turntable, you come up with a massive blob. So the very first thing that you have to do is you have to spray the object with some type of stuff. And you can get this stuff from Germany, which is about $90 for a bottle of it, a spray can to spray it. Well, a lot of us are using, believe it or not, dry shampoo. And you spray that on, and what it does is it puts these minuscule little particles on the device, on the object. And that's what you're actually scanning, is that time differential between all those little particles. That's how you really get the scan.
I can't even work a 3D printer, let alone do one of them.
There's a guy, I forget what the name of it is, but it's a guy on Thingiverse and Scantron 2000 or some kind of crazy name like that. It's one of those people-sized scanners that uses the Xbox thing camera that I mentioned earlier, and he includes designs for a powered turntable that is strong enough for a person to stand on it, rotates the person, and then he's got a kind of a gantry that the Xbox camera moves up and down on, so it can take pictures from down low and middle and up high as the person is spinning around. And so the person stands on the thing and does their pose and tries not to move, and then it basically does a photogrammetry plus infrared detection and whatever the Xbox camera can do to then do a 3D scan. And you can find tons and tons of figures of people who went to that guy's booth on Coney Island. He did it. He's done it at tech fairs and things like that too.
That's like photography in the 1800s, where they used to put like somebody to hold your neck so you wouldn't move, because the film exposure was like 2 seconds or something.
Yeah. So you got all. So those scans look fine because they're just people, with clothes on and skin and whatnot. But it's the same. It's more or less the same kind of thing that Alan's doing, just on a much larger scale.
Yeah, the device I have is like I say, it's a small turntable, and not only does it go through 360 degrees as it's taking a frame, but the turntable itself also will go like this as it's rotating. And depending on what the setting is in the software, I average anywhere from 80 to 100 frames or photos in order to achieve what I call a starting point for the scan,
Yeah.
like you saw with that van.
Yeah, the more photos, the better. And the reason they paint, the reason he puts the dry shampoo on it or the special stuff from Germany is to eliminate all reflective surfaces. So,
Yep.
so basically just it's only getting light and shadow. It's not getting anything bounced off of anything else in the photos. You can do it with if you can get a. I'm sure if you were willing to ruin whatever thing that you're scanning, you can just cover it with a primer. Just a spray-on primer.
Yeah.
If you don't care about the object.
There's this stuff from Germany, like I said, it's in a spray can, and it runs, by the time you get it from Germany, it runs you about $90 US. And the only advantage to it is you spray it on and it will disappear 100% within about 8 hours. Well, this dry shampoo does the same damn thing. It's $3 a bottle, and providing that the object that you're scanning is washable, just throw it in the sink and put some soap and water on it, and it's gone. So I like the cheap side.
That sounds like the way to go. All right.
Sorry to diverse from the subject there, Greg, but I wanted to bring that up.
No, I wanted to see. I'm glad you did. And that's one of the most common questions that we get as the 3D printing community is, oh, can't you just scan it and print it?
All you got to do is.
That's all you got to do. Scan it and print it. Good to go.
I've spent more money in beer than I have 3D scanning. So.
Well, the floor is open. We got 10 or 15 minutes.
I have a good explanation now as to why Scalextric produce such beautiful bodies and have no money left to make the mechanics properly. It's like they're using LiDAR and renting that probably busted their budget.
I also wonder for modern cars, how many digital files they get from manufacturers as well that might help them.
I mean, if the manufacturer is involved in the process, then maybe.
Today a lot, John. Today a lot.
On the Airfix episode, they actually scanned a Mosquito and an old World War II aircraft, World War I aircraft, bi-wing aircraft, and that was all done with the LiDAR.
Yeah, I doubt Scalextric owns the LiDAR. They paid some LiDAR company big bucks to come and do that for them.
So would they still spray the stuff all over that?
No, LiDAR is different. It'll it's like laser radar. So it's actually timing it's actually calculating the amount of time the laser takes to get back from bouncing off the object. That's why it's so expensive. If it's actual
By
LiDAR.
the way, this that LiDAR scanning, for those who are interested in it, don't get caught in the trap that the latest iPhones will do scanning.
Yeah.
They have a LiDAR device in there, and it sucks.
It's not actual LiDAR. It's probably not even, it's probably not even laser based, but you can do laser based light scanning just like we do with photogrammetry, but you're using a laser to cast light on the object.
So what?
It's not actually calculating the amount of time it takes for the light to move and bounce off the thing like LiDAR. It's just getting an image of the laser bouncing off of the thing.
Yeah.
So what's that in settings?
Yeah.
I'm trying to say.
I mean, they do have an app that, people have been, using it and you get, garbage.
No good with apps either.
Don't waste your time.
You can use that just as well as you've been using your 3D printer.
You know how you taught me how to do that, what's the name, the other day?
I don't remember.
You know, when you taught me how to put all the pictures. So
oh, yeah, you've already forgotten.
Yeah.
We'll practice again if you want to. All right, 10 minutes left.
My Google says it's full.
Yeah, my Google is complaining at me too. I had to go in and delete a bunch of videos that I didn't need anymore. But anything else? 10 minutes left? Should I just?
Yeah, I was going to ask if anybody has got the new slotted Ferrari 512M yet.
Oh yeah, somebody's got to have one. George got one. Garth got one.
I've
Dewan
got,
got one?
I've got the Sanico one on order.
Yeah, me too. For sure.
I
I'm
don't
okay
like
to wait for that. Well, what do you guys think of it? George, have you driven it around your track?
No, I think it's outside. It just got delivered. That's how recent it is.
How are they, Dennis?
I managed to see one last week at the Electric Dreams, but only so that I could fit a C43 chip to it for a customer. So I haven't had a chance to have a look at one myself yet.
Garth, have you
Some of the
driven your
reviews
car
I
yet?
see, they say it's smooth, it runs real quiet.
Mhm.
Smooth is what I hear a lot.
So apparently, of all the people who in here who got one, none of you have actually.
Go look.
George is going to go get his. What do you got? Alan?
George is getting like Petrucci. He's just like waiting for the mailman.
Yeah,
I'm
actually,
waiting for the mailman as well. The
Yeah.
amount of stuff I got on back order is unreal.
I'm not even going to get one of those ones. I'm waiting for the white kit.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah,
got
I have
PS sucks.
back order as well.
I have a
Oh, man.
specific livery that I want to.
Hey,
produce.
Greg,
Yes, sir.
I just got a response from NSR in Italy regarding those screws.
Cool.
And I asked the typical questions that I asked everybody on the forum here or on the chat. And my response from them was, well, everything that you need is in our parts section.
Yep.
Oh, they said screw you.
Yeah,
A lot of help.
Yeah, beat me to it, Henri. That's right.
Why in the world would they tell you? They want
Did
you
you
to
do it in
buy
Italian?
I-
though, right?
I even went so far as, to ask them what the cost would be for 100.
Good.
So I got the answer.
And packed.
You're lucky they didn't send you the name of the boat from the Sopranos.
$9 for 10. Now let me see if I if I do the math, I'm looking at $90 plus shipping for what I need for little tiny screws.
I'm sure you can
Well, I dare you to put the order in, and they'll go, no, we only give you a 10.
Yeah.
for $90.
They'll make you an offer you cannot refuse.
They did.
It looks like you could probably find something that'll do the job, just not exactly the same as.
Yeah, I may have to make some compromises here.
Yeah.
You could always buy a hex one and cut a slot in it.
That's true.
Good.
Especially if it's brass. I wouldn't want to do that to tungsten or titanium.
Or you could buy one and have Greg scan it.
And then 3D print it.
3D print it.
I could
Can
3D
you, can you 3D print metal yet, Greg?
Oh, heck no. I'm not,
No,
I'm not going down that.
use plastic. It's next best thing.
All right, I think we've lost our wind, so I'm gonna go ahead.
UPS is here.
All right. Do we need to wait for George to go? He's not gonna have time to actually drive that car before we hit the stop button, so we'll hear about that next week. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit the stop button now. Everybody wave bye-bye. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Bye-bye.